Matthew Beem turned himself into a freaking superhero in 90 days.
For the next 90 days, I'm gonna be training exactly like a superhero. And this is what I look like right now. And I weigh over 240 pounds.
Let's recreate Matthew Beem's superhero intro in CapCut. But first, we need some video of a fat dude.
I'll do it.
Great, let's go. Sweet, we got it. Here's the video we just shot. And I made it kind of easy for you because I already numbered them. I trimmed them, but you're gonna have to trim them all. You have to do some editing. And I also included a couple sound effects and some voiceover so you can edit this entire thing together yourself. To follow along, you can download all of the elements I use for free. Link in the description below. Go ahead and stop and do that right now. It's important. Yeah, it's me doing the same kind of thing Matthew was doing without my shirt on. You can go ahead and do whatever you want with it. Make fun of me, whatever. I'm 60. I can take it. By the way, if you think this is kind of fun, hit that subscribe button and smack the bell so you catch all my future videos and you are current on all things CapCut and editing. First, we're going to take all of these elements and drop them into the timeline in order. Because I numbered them, they're in order already. We just click on the first guy, hold down the shift key, click on the last one, and then just drag them down to the timeline. They are, like I said, already partially edited, but first we're just going to clean them up and try to find the parts that we want to use. And here's how we do it. I'm gonna make sure that snapping is enabled in the timeline, which is this guy right here. That means when I drag this guy to the right, everything's gonna snap over. And because I only have one layer here, it'll just keep everything nice and tight and make it kind of easy. And this is how we do it. If I hold down the Command key on a Mac, the Control key on a PC, and hit my scroll wheel, I can see the waveforms here. And so I know that this is probably where I start speaking. So I'm just going to type what letter do you remember from prior videos? If I want to add a cut right here and delete all this stuff at the beginning, I type the letter Q, bam, and it slides everything over. Let's listen.
For the next 90 days, I'm going to be training exactly like a superhero.
Okay, and then we know that we don't want to use what's after that, so I'm just going to type what letter to get rid of everything from this playhead over to the next edit. I type the letter W, and it'll delete all of this and suck everything over because snapping is on. Bam, then we're just gonna do that for the rest of the video real quick.
For the next 90 days, I'm gonna be training exactly like a superhero.
Now, for this first shot, you may have noticed that in Matthew's cut, he had a quick zoom blur. He started wide and he zoomed in close. So I really only need a tiny bit of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to make that cut work right now. And I'm going to do what's called a match cut. I'm gonna take my motion from here where I'm starting to curl the dumbbell and my motion here where I'm starting to curl it as well. So they kind of match. So it'll probably be right around here. So I'm just gonna type the letter W to get rid of everything from here over, bam. And I don't need this audio because I set everything here. I'm gonna get rid of this audio by just dragging this down. That's the audio, bam. And now let's see if this cut works.
For the next 90 days.
So that cut works, and we'll go ahead and add that effect later on. And then let's go ahead and look at this next part. So in Matthew's video, he knocked a dude down. He was doing like an action scene. In this case, I borrowed my dog, Gigi, who is always eager to play. And I shot it in slow motion. It's already slowed down a little bit. So let's find the take of me knocking down this vicious dog. Maybe just right about there. So this is training like a superhero. I'm gonna type the letter Q to get rid of all this stuff. Bam. And then shoom. And right, maybe about when she hits the ground. That's all I need of that shot. And that's gonna be a B-roll shot. We'll move it in a second. To get rid of all of this stuff, type letter W. You can see how fast editing can go if you're using the right keystrokes, Q and W, to make your edits easy. Now I've got 3 takes of me going,
and this is what I look like now.
And let's see the other take.
And this is what I look like now.
And that takes fine. So just go ahead and take that one. Boom, letter Q.
And this is what I look like now.
And then W to get rid of the rest. Now we've got Trevor's fat back. We just need about a second of that. So starting about right there when I settle, Q, and then W. I don't even need that much. We're just roughing it out right now. And then here is my flex at the end. Starting at the beginning of the flex, kind of like Matthew, Q. Then I flex, hold, and looking stupid, W. And then here I've got something that I'm not gonna tell you what that is. We're gonna add that in at the end. I'm gonna just delete it. That'll be the fun. You're not gonna see what I do there until the very last 3 seconds of the video. You'll see how this thing ends. I just changed up Matthew Beem's a little bit. So we have all these shots in order. They're roughed out. What's the next thing? Well, in Matthew's video, he had some shots of Iron Man because training like a superhero, he showed Iron Man stuff. But for me, that didn't really make sense to me because I know Iron Man's a superhero, but he's in a suit. You can't see his body. So we need a superhero whose body we can see. So of course, I went ahead and grabbed this clip right here of Christopher Hemsworth which, you know, you may have noticed that Christopher Hemsworth and I we're practically twins. So it was the logical thing for me to do to use Thor for my shot of a superhero. By the way, you will see his backside in this. So if you have small children in the room and you don't want them to see Thor's backside, then you should turn off your computers right away. Hopefully I won't get demonetized because I'm not going to blur this. Just fair warning, fair warning. Okay, there we go. We're going to start to actually edit this now. So in the beginning, we're going to do
For
that.
the next 90 days, I'm going to be...
Right about when I say 90 days, I want to show the shot of me knocking my dog down like I'm beating up a bad guy. So I'm going to turn off the track magnet here. I can type the letter P or click on this guy. And now when I drag this guy up, it just leaves a hole there and I can move it around. Otherwise, it would have done this with the track magnet on, just so you know. It's like, oh, it slides everything over and you kind of lose a little bit of control when that happens. Things go out of sync. So I usually have it off. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to bring my dog up here and...
Next 90 days,
and somewhere around here.
I'm going to be training...
So there's me hitting my dog. Now here is something that is really important for editing, and it's beyond just CapCut. It applies to everything. You want there to be actions and reactions. So in this case, what am I doing? I'm knocking my dog down violently with my arm, and then what would the reaction to that be? Well, it could be Thor's clothes flying off, because if we look at the Thor cut here, we have Zeus doing this. Watch.
And flick.
To see me naked, I mean, to learn to edit like a pro using CapCut, you really need my course, Edit with Trev and Master CapCut. I will teach you to edit in like 2 days. Like all the stuff I'm showing you, you already know how to do all of it had you taken my course. Plus, you'll become a faster editor, and I also teach you what you need to do step by step to get more views and more subscribers on your videos on YouTube. It's like step by step, just do these things, and every time you will get more views if you do all of the things that I tell you. Most people just don't want to take the effort that it takes to become a better, faster editor and get more views and subscribers and make more money on YouTube. You can click the link right here or the link in the description below, or just go to mastercapcut.com.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
So we're just going to find about where that is and we'll trim it up in the timeline. I'm just going to get about that much of it. I'm going to position my playhead where I want to start messing with it, hit the plus sign, and now I can just kind of scroll through here, and right after Zeus flicks, I think I want to start it right about there. Bam, his clothes are coming off. And then you can see kind of how this works. And I'm going to turn the audio off for this for now. But watch this. It's like,
I'm going to be training exactly...
See that? See how it's kind of an action dog? Poof, clothes flick off. Now, another thing we want to do right here, see how it's got the black bars, you know, the film cinema mode. I want it to match my cut more. So I'm just going to zoom in on that a little bit. I'm going to scale it up a tiny bit to about 1:7, about 8, gets rid of the black bars just so it looks consistent and it's not jumpy. So we'll use that. We're going to just watch and see how much of this we want to use.
I'm going to be training exactly like a superhero.
Okay, so that's way too long for our purposes. You'll notice that Matthew Beem's intro was very fast paced. He just got through it. Another thing that is probably more important than this CapCut stuff to learn from Matthew Beem's editing. His title is, I Train Like a Superhero for 90 Days. And immediately he says, I'm going to train like a superhero for 90 days. He delivers on the title immediately and shows you some stuff so you get like little mini payoffs so you can see what's kind of coming. You need to do that with your videos. Skip all the long intros, like never ever go, hey, it's me, Trevor. I used to be an editor and I'm going to show you how to use some CapCut stuff. Like nobody cares. Never, never, never do that. Pay attention. This is more important than the CapCut stuff. Anyway, back to CapCut. Let's go to what we want to use. Like, okay, we flicked, we get a glimpse of Thor, and I'm going to hit Command B to add a cut there. And then we want to get everybody fainting. So right in the middle of the fainting, right about there, I'm going to hit Command B again. Or what should I hit? I should hit Q to get rid of all this stuff. Bam, then I'll just slide it over because there's no track magnet on. And so we have like, I train like a superhero for 90 days, boom, and then we have this reaction where he falls down. And that's about all we need of that. And we're going to make this work with music a little bit later. Now we're going to take all of this stuff and slide it over. How do we do that? To grab everything, I could go like this. That was Shift Z to show the whole timeline and grab it all and slide it over. Or let's undo that. What I could do is hit the right bracket. The right bracket lets me select everything to the right of the playhead. You can get to the right bracket here, select rightward, or I can just type the right bracket, bam, and it gives me those double arrows, see them? And now I can just drag everything over. So boom, and then let's see what we got now.
Superhero.
And this is what I look like now. Okay, so way too long on that. And I don't need the audio in any of these. So I'm just going to go over here, click on each one, click on audio and just drag the volume down just so it's not distracting. So I now want to start showing me what I look like now. So I can see that I ended my sentence right here. So I'm just gonna go back one more frame. So I'm just going to cut it right here and remove that. So there's not any extra, and I just have letter W, bam. And I only need just a fraction of a second of these guys. So I'm just going to trim them up a little bit more, kill the end of that, drag it over. We've got this roughed out. I'm gonna add an effect to the beginning just because we need it for the music, which we're gonna do right after this. You may have noticed that in Matthew's cut, he had a wide shot that zoomed into here, and there's not a great way to do that in CapCut yet. Ideally, you would use motion blur, but motion blur in CapCut is unreliable. So what I'm going to do is use a transition called whoosh. So click on transitions, type in whoosh now that we have this search bar here. So I'm gonna add this whoosh transition, which is the closest thing to that zoom blur effect that Matthew has at the beginning of his. So just drag it down here and you can see what it does.
For the next...
The issue is it's too short. Did you see that? I'm gonna turn the audio off here. It's like, whoa, way short. And look what happens here. If I try to make this longer, it won't let it get bigger. That's because in order for this transition to be longer, we need more of this thing here, the way they have it set up. So I'm gonna select everything by hitting Command A. I'm gonna drag this over a little bit, and I'm gonna take this first clip and just drag it back a bit. Now I'll be able to drag this and make it bigger. Watch. And about 0.4 seconds is what I want. I am not going to use this in the final edit, but I am going to start my cut right about here where it's blurry. So it'll be like, whoosh. And then that kind of works. What do you think? Does that work? If we start on that frame, looks like we zoomed into it. So what I'm gonna do is hit Command A, select everything again, drag it back, and I'm gonna put a marker where I want this to start. By the way, new feature, they got actual markers, not just the music markers. You don't see it, it's because I have all these highlighted, but if I click off of this, look at a marker. So I'm gonna drag this to the exact spot I want this to be for my very first frame, right there, so zooming. That's where I'm gonna set the end point when I export all of this. So on final export, it'll start there. It's not gonna start over here. So I'm gonna put a marker there just to remember. And now it looks like this. Now we're ready to add the music because the music drives the cut. When I was an editor in Hollywood, we would choose music very early on when we were editing a commercial or a movie trailer because that set the tone, the pace, the feeling. Anytime you add music, you should have a goal to make your audience feel something. Never ever just add music for background noise, for filler. It's gotta have purpose. In this case, this is action. We're training, we're gonna get jacked. So we need some action music. So I found one called Action Sport Rock Extreme Drive right here. I'm just gonna drag it down here. And we want the music to drive the cut. How do we do that? When this whoosh zoom thing lands, that's where we want the beat of the music to start. So I land kind of right about here, right? So I want that beat to be right about there. Let's have a look. Listen. So right there went dun 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 dun. So that would be a place for a stop down for some comedy, as it were. So we just click on this music track and we hit Command B and we just kind of move it all down there. We don't need it for now. So to make that work, I didn't like the sound effects that they had here. So I'm gonna just let you listen to them so you can see because they were just kind of dumb in the Thor movie. They had some weird glissy thing. Mute this guy and listen. Like a harp gliss thing? No. But they do have the body falls. So what I want is for everybody falling down to happen on that da-na-na. And we can use this guy as a reference maybe. He's hitting the ground there. And it kind of works just like that. If I just turn me back on.
Hero.
But we need a sound effect. And I've given you one here under free. We've got all these body falls. I'm just gonna drop them down here so we can find them. I already know that I like this one right here. So I'm just going to grab it and put him right here. And I'm gonna shorten this guy up so he gets out of my way. He's just kind of bugging me. We're gonna use something back here in a minute. And let's grab this dude and put him right here.
The superhero.
Just about lining things up. Let's see where this works. And that was a little bit late, so I'm just gonna move it over. And it's just listening, so it's dun-na-na. It happens at the same time as the body falls.
Superhero.
And then we want a little bit less of Chris, a little more of them reacting.
I'm gonna be training exactly like a superhero.
And this, okay, so that kind of works. The only thing I don't like is the body falls kind of ended and it was like silent here. So we need a little more body fall action. So I'm just gonna grab another one of these body falls. Let's see, drop it down here again. And I think there was one here that had more going on, this guy. So we got more noise happening because there's like a bunch of people falling. So let's just listen to all of these people falling. Boom, boom, boom. And this is like what you're learning. This is how I edited stuff in Hollywood, man. And we're doing it right here in CapCut. So it's kind of cool. And let's get the body fall on the same track right there, right underneath it anyway. So we'll have them start at the same time and then have it dribble out for a second and then we'll get to me. And so it'd be like
Superhero.
Yeah.
And this is what,
and then we'll just bring this over a tiny bit.
and this is what I look like now.
And then look like now. So what do you think we should do? This is what it look like now. Let's stay silent for a minute. This is super important to make your edits flow. You stop the music, you emphasize a point, you play out a joke, and then you resume the music. So we're gonna resume the music after I say, and this is what I look like now, and then just show me, and let's have the music kind of start jamming again. So sometimes, since this is gonna be a short edit, we wanna use the end of the song. So I got the end of the song here. Let's see what might possibly work. Actually, that might be great there. So let's just go ahead and zoom in. And I think we want it right about there where you start to show me.
This is what I look like now.
And I need maybe another frame of that. And it's just messing with like one frame at a time to make things kind of perfect. You know, it's a little bit of a curse because I probably overdo it, but you know.
Like now.
Now, because that kind of started almost like in the middle of the beat and we don't, you know, so in the middle of the song, there's one other Hollywood trick I'm gonna show you to make things feel like there's a little bit of a ramp up to it. And you just add a little cymbal roll here. So it's done, done. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into, well, I'm gonna import some more sound effects here. I'm gonna hit import and I'm gonna go to music and I've got sound effects and I have my 100 free sound effects. If you don't have those, there's a link for those in the description below. A lot of you have downloaded them already, but there's 100 free sound effects that I stole from Hollywood that you're free to use. And in there, I think there's a cymbal roll. Let's see, CYMB. And I use these all the time in Hollywood and I still use them. Oh, here's one. There's 5 cymbal rolls. Let's grab them all. Let's drag these guys down here. And let's just take this short one. So bam, letter Q, trim it up. And we're just gonna put it right here. And it's going to kind of give us a little precursor to the music coming on.
Exactly like a superhero. And this is what I look like now.
Do you hear how that works? It's like whoosh, done, done. I'm gonna play it again.
Like now.
All right, so let's just do this.
Like now.
Okay, and now I'm just trying to figure out where to end this. Now, in Hollywood, we had a specific, you know, it had to be 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute long. For YouTube, do whatever you want. But I want this to end well with the music. I had it start kind of cool. I want it to end with dun dun. And then there's gonna be a little joke after that that you're gonna see at the end. So you gotta stick around the end. So that's a great ending, dun dun. So I'm just going to click on this guy, hit Command B, delete this guy, and I'm gonna end me there, and I'm gonna check and make sure the music ended correctly. And now we've got another couple little things to do.
And this is what I look like now.
And I'm actually gonna adjust this back just a tiny bit so it hits at the peak of that cymbal roll.
I look like now. Like now.
Now I want to use the music to help us with the cut a little bit, to add the cuts and give a little more meaning to the cuts. So we can listen here. So it starts like right about there, done it. So we'll just drag that guy over to there and that downbeat can start that next cut. It's often nice to cut to the music and it makes things flow a little better. Not all the time because it gets, you know, too predictable, but it kind of makes things nice.
Like now.
And then went, nah. So like, nah, there's another beat there. We can have another cut there. I really don't want to see my back on that long, but whatever.
What I look like now.
Cut like that, I think it works really well. Now we need to do the other things that Matthew did in his cut, which is add a couple more effects. You may have noticed in his that he was zooming in pretty drastically to himself here. It looked like he was moving the camera. I shot this with the tripod, so we're just gonna do this manually. I'm gonna position my plate at this very first frame. I'm going to set a keyframe for scale and position, and I'm going to go to this last frame that we see of me and scale it up quite a bit. But I'm not just gonna scale it up. what you want to do is keep your face in the same place. I'm going to drag this down here so that my face is in the same place the entire time.
For the next 90 days.
Let's see how that looks without the white box. The white box drives me nuts, so I just click off of it. I don't see the box. And let's see how this looks.
For the next 90 days, I'm going to be training exactly like a superhero. And this is what I look like now.
And on all of these cuts, he's kind of zooming in a little bit. So we're just going to zoom in on all of them. I'm going to do one more for you, but remember, you want to try to keep the face in the same spot. And you also want to line up the head or face so that it appears in the same place, because viewers are focusing on one subject at a time. And if you're like putting a head down here, over here, and over here, it's hard to follow. So you want to make it easy for them to follow along and just keep the main subject right there in the same spot, whether it's here in this case, or maybe you got something over here, whatever. In this case, it's right here. So I'm going to zoom in on me here and scale me up just a little bit. These aren't drastic things. And I'm going to pull it down a little bit so that my head stays in the same spot. So head, ding, 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 it's in about the same spot. And then this guy, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna start scaled up a little bit, make sure that my head's in the same spot. It's pretty close. And then I'm gonna set a keyframe for position and scale and zoom up a little more. And remember, I'm gonna drag it down and don't look at my back fat. And then I'm just gonna do that for the rest of these guys. You don't have to watch. All right, so I've got all these kind of dialed in the way I want them. I'm gonna drag this guy down here. And the other thing Matthew did, he had some like scanning, some cool effects here that would have been like, crazy hard to do in, After Effects or something. But in CapCut, it's kind of where it shines. We can make some cool scanning stuff really easily. We want the background to be maybe a little different than the foreground for these. So I'm just gonna highlight all of these, hold down the Option key on a Mac, the Alt key on a PC, and click and drag these up, and it duplicates them. Why? Because I'm going to cut me out of these layers so that I can affect me different than the background. So I'm gonna click on each one and go to Video, Cutout, Auto Cutout, Auto Cutout, Auto Cutout, and it does a pretty fair job. And bam, those are all cut out. Now I want to affect these so it looks like I'm getting a body scan, and I'm gonna put some text behind it. Now we're almost done. So to make this background look all scanny, we're gonna go over here to Effects and click on Video Effects, scroll down to Scanning. They have a whole section for scans, and we're gonna go to Spectrum Scan for this background. And then, yeah, that looks dope, right? Try to do that in Adobe Premiere Pro, man. It's gonna be nearly impossible without a lot of extra plugins and stuff. So bam, 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 that's cool. Now for the top layer, I wanna add a different scanning feature. I'm gonna use this Pro one, Holo Scan, but you can mess with these other free ones. So I'm gonna put Holo Scan right here. Notice that I'm putting it only on me, so it only affects me and not the background. If I had put it up here, it would affect everything, and that is not the look we're looking for. So I'm gonna grab Holo Scan and put it on each one of these guys. And one thing I don't like about it, you can tweak these pretty easily. I'm gonna click on this guy, click on this tiny little star right here so I can modify the filter. And now I can see, I can adjust all this stuff. Everything looks kind of great for what I'm going for, except atmosphere kind of makes my body all dark. I wanna still look pasty white. Summer's not here yet. So I'm gonna just drag the atmosphere down on all of these, and it'll make me match what I look like before I added the filter to me. And you can see it did it for that one, and for this guy, and click this little guy right here, bam. And now I can drag the atmosphere down. And now we can see that these all look pretty cool, right? Bam. And for the last one, I'm just gonna add the spectrum scan to the whole thing. And that kind of works out for the end, bam. Okay, so this stuff looks pretty good right now, but we don't have that number underneath. We said, I weigh 240 pounds. Let's put a couple hundred pounds under here. How do we do that? We just go to text. We click on the default text. We drop it in between these two layers, and we type in what I say here, which is 200 pounds. But I didn't even say it yet, but I'm gonna add that VO in a second. And this font looks terrible. I found a font called like 24. You can Google and find it online. And so I'm just gonna use that one. It's called 24, bam. And I'm gonna make this bigger, and his was red. So let's just go ahead and make ours red as well. It's highlighted already, so I just click on color and just go bing, now it's red. And so, dang, that looks good. Bam, that's how fast and easy is that. And then also, forgot, but I gotta put the voiceover in here, and luckily you have it because you've downloaded it. So just go into local free rec 002, and I just recorded it with my like Rode wireless mic. I'm gonna drop it in here, trim it up, and put it right under here. Well, actually, I think I said it 3 times. So let's go ahead and listen and find the good take. And this is like real life. I'm showing you this instead of making it all perfect. Like this is how I kind of do things. I'll drop things in the back and just check them like this.
And I weigh almost 200 pounds. And I weigh almost 200 pounds. And I weigh almost 200 pounds. And I weigh almost...
So I'm going to use this one, I guess, and just trim that guy out with letter W. And it's all quiet, so I'm just going to click on it and choose loudness normalization, which is free.
And I weigh almost 200 pounds.
And it sounds great. And I'll put it right here, and let's see how this is.
Like now. And I weigh almost 200 pounds.
And bam, like this.
Like now. And I weigh almost 200 pounds.
That works pretty well like that. The only thing left to do is add some sound effects, do a final mix, add that little joke in, and then we're gonna export it. And remember, when you export it, we're gonna start it here on this frame where I'm starting to be blurry. You don't want this stuff here. So to do that, you type the letter I right there, you go to the end and you type the letter O, and then it will export just the things in between the in point and the out point when you go to export it. If you don't know how to do the final mix, that's making the audio levels correct, I have a video on cinematic sound design linked right here. And now the finished masterpiece.
For the next 90 days, I'm going to be training exactly like a superhero. And this is what I look like now. And I weigh almost 200 pounds.
Before, after, before, after, before, after.